On Christmas Eve, my son looked me straight in the eye and said, "Dad, don't bother coming tomorrow. Kiren's parents are flying in from Boston. There won't be room." I didn't argue. I just spent Christmas with an old friend surrounded by warmth and laughter in a house worth more than my son's annual salary times 10. When I posted the photos online, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing because my friend wasn't just any friend. He was someone who would finally show my son what real value looks like. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The Christmas tree in my living room stood 7 foot tall. I decorated it myself 3 days ago, the way my wife Eleanor used to do before the stroke took her 4 years back. Gold ornaments, white lights, the hand-painted angels she bought in Germany during our anniversary trip in 1989. I'd even hung the stockings, 4 of them. Mine, my son Derek's, my daughter-in-law Karen's, and my grandson Tyler's. The doorbell rang at 6 p.m. I wasn't expecting anyone. Derek stood on my porch in his expensive wool coat, the one I'd bought him last Christmas for $800. Because Kiren had mentioned he needed professional attire for his new position at the marketing firm. He didn't hug me, just walked past into the kitchen. "Dad, I need to talk to you about something." I followed him, already feeling that familiar tightness in my chest, the tightness I'd come to associate with his visits over the past 4 years. "It's about Christmas," he continued, not meeting my eyes. "Karen's parents are coming. The Hendersons. You remember them?" I remembered. Met them once at the wedding. Cold people looked at me like I was furniture. "Their flight lands tomorrow morning. They'll be staying through New Year's." "That sounds nice. What time should I come over?" "That's the thing, Dad." He finally looked at me, but his eyes slid away quickly. "There won't be room. Karen's already stressed about the sleeping arrangements. Her parents need the guest room, and the house will be chaotic. We thought maybe you could do your own thing this year." "My own thing? Just this once. Next year will be different." I'd heard that before. Last Thanksgiving it was too complicated with Karen's work schedule. The 4th of July barbecue got canceled because Tyler had a cold. My birthday dinner was postponed indefinitely. "I understand," I said. My voice came out flatter than I intended. Derek's shoulders relaxed visibly. "Great, Dad. I knew you'd get it." Oh, and before I forget, he pulled out his phone, checking something. "We're a little short this month. Tyler's private school tuition went up and the Mercedes needs new brake pads. Could you help us out? Maybe $1,500. My hand went to my wallet before my brain caught up. Muscle memory. 4 years of this dance. I counted out the bills, handed them over. Derek folded them without looking, slipped them into his coat pocket with practiced ease. "Thanks, Dad. Really appreciate it. I'll call you after Christmas." He was gone within 8 minutes. I counted. Didn't mention the tree. Didn't notice the stockings. Didn't ask about my hip that had been bothering me since October. That night, I sat in my recliner. The leather was worn smooth in places where Eleanor used to rest her head against my shoulder during our evening shows. The house felt too big, too quiet. The Christmas tree lights blinked in the corner, illuminating an empty room. I pulled out my laptop and opened my banking app, started scrolling through 3 years of transactions. The pattern emerged like evidence in a case I used to work during my decades as an accountant. February $2,000, $500 for emergency car repairs. The car I later saw Derek trade in for the Mercedes. May $4,000 for Tyler's summer camp, the camp Kiren later mentioned they'd canceled. August $6, $800 for a roof leak. Their roof looked fine when I drove by 2 months ago. November $3,200 for medical bills. Derek's insurance through work covered everything at 90%. 3 years, $67,000. Every request preceded by renewed contact. Every payment followed by weeks of silence. I pulled up my call log. For incoming calls from Derek this year. I checked my text. 5 messages. All logistics or requests. Never conversation. Never. "How are you, Dad? Never miss you. There won't be room." I said aloud to the empty room. The bitterness in my voice surprised me. I walked to the hallway where family photos lined the wall, studied each one carefully, the way I used to analyze financial statements for irregularities. In this photo, Derek's birthday 2 years ago, his smile was radiant. That was right after I'd paid his credit card debt. $5,500. This one from Christmas 3 years back, taken the week after I'd covered their property taxes when Derek claimed his bonus got delayed. In every photo where he looked genuinely happy, there was a recent transaction. I returned to the recliner as midnight approached, but something had shifted. The hurt was still there, raw and immediate. Yet underneath it, something harder was forming. Something I hadn't felt since I retired from the firm after 41 years. I'd spent my career finding discrepancies, exposing fraud, protecting assets from those who would exploit them. If my own son only valued my checkbook, he needed to understand what he was losing, not through confrontation. That would make me look desperate. No, he needed to see what my life could be without him. What I could build with $67,000 a year when I wasn't funding their luxury lifestyle. Christmas morning found me in the same chair, still in yesterday's clothes. I hadn't slept. Dawn crept through the windows, casting long shadows across the living room. The tree lights had shut off automatically at midnight. Coffee went cold in my hand. Through the kitchen doorway, I could see the ham I'd bought for dinner, still wrapped in the refrigerator. The sweet potatoes. The pie I'd ordered from Eleanor's favorite bakery. All of it pointless now. My phone buzzed at 9:15 a.m. Unknown number. Old habit from decades of important client calls made me answer. Harold Mitchell. A voice boomed through the speaker, warm and familiar. This is RevengeWithKIren. Tell me you remember your old partner from Peterson and Associates. RevengeWithKIren. Late nights preparing audits. The Simmons fraud case in 1987 that made our careers. The man who taught me that numbers never lie. Only people do. RevengeWithKIren, I said slowly. The man who couldn't balance a checkbook to save his life. His laugh exploded through the phone. That was before you taught me. Listen, I heard through Mike Patterson. You might be alone today. True. I hesitated. Mike Patterson had retired the same year I did. We grabbed lunch twice a year. The accountant network stayed connected. Plans changed, I admitted. I'm hosting at my place in Scottsdale. 12 people, too much food, and I could use another sharp mind at the table. My wife's relatives keep asking about cryptocurrency, and I need backup. Come save me. Scottsdale, the wealthy Arizona suburb where tech millionaires and investment bankers built estates overlooking the desert. I'd visited once decades ago. I wouldn't want to impose on your family. Harold, you helped me land the Meridian account. That single client funded my retirement. You can impose any time. Please come. Something in his voice, not pity. Genuine desire for company. The contrast with yesterday's rejection hit like a physical blow. What time? 1 o'clock. I'll text you the address. And Harold, it's good to hear your voice, old friend. After he hung up, I sat motionless for a full minute. Then I stood. The act of rising from that chair felt significant, like choosing action over paralysis. The shower ran hot. I stood straighter under the spray. Felt muscles remember postures from decades of professional life. Shaved carefully. Trimmed my beard with the precision I used to apply to financial reports. I chose a tailored jacket, charcoal gray. Eleanor had picked it for our 40th anniversary. The irony that Derek had never complimented it crossed my mind. The drive to Scottsdale took 90 minutes. I passed the exit for Gilbert, where Derek and Kiren had built their 4-bedroom house. Didn't even glance that direction. Raymond built a consulting empire, I said aloud to the empty car. Mike mentioned it last year. Worth millions. And he wants my company, not my money. Wants conversation, not bank transfers. The landscape shifted as I drove. Phoenix's middle-class neighborhoods gave way to Scottsdale's manicured estates. Properties set behind gates and desert landscaping. The kind of wealth that whispered instead of shouted. She's going to see these photos. I continued. Kiren monitors my Facebook. She'll ask questions. Where was I? Who was I with? Why didn't I invite them? My jaw tightened as the strategy crystallized. Not revenge through confrontation. Not cutting them off completely. Something subtler. Show them a life they weren't part of. Show them what money could build when it wasn't being drained away in $1,500 increments. Let them wonder. Let them calculate what they were missing. Raymond's address brought me to wrought iron gates with a security camera. I pressed the intercom button. Harold. Finally. Raymond's voice crackled through. The gates swung open. The house rose before me. Desert contemporary architecture. Florida-to-ceiling windows. Infinity pool overlooking Camelback Mountain. I parked between a Porsche and a Range Rover. Raymond opened the door before I reached it, pulling me into an embrace I hadn't expected. I stiffened initially, unused to genuine affection after years of transactional hellos, but his grip was firm, real. "Look at you," he said, stepping back. "You haven't changed since Peterson." "You're lying." "But I appreciate it." "This place, Raymond," I gestured at the house. 40 years of compound interest and a few lucky investments. "Come in. My wife Susan has been cooking since Tuesday." Susan Chan greeted me in the foyer. Elegant in a simple dress, her smile warm without calculation. She took my hand in both of hers. "Raymond talks about you constantly. The partner who kept him honest. Welcome to our home." The house opened around me. Vet ceilings, original artwork. A Christmas tree that somehow looked both expensive and welcoming. 12 people moved through the space naturally. Real conversations, real laughter. This was what Christmas was supposed to feel like. Dinner happened around a long table set with crystal and fine china. I found myself seated between a venture capitalist and a retired judge. Real conversations emerged. Not small talk, not polite noise. 41 years in forensic accounting, the judge said. "You must have seen some things." "I learned that numbers tell stories," I replied. "They reveal character better than any words." His wife leaned forward. "How so?" "People lie. Spreadsheets don't. You can learn everything about a person by how they treat money." Raymond's voice carried from the head of the table. "Harold once uncovered a $12 million embezzlement just by noticing a pattern of small withdrawals. Tell them about the Simmons case." I told the story. The table listened, actually listened, asked questions. Nobody checked phones. Nobody glanced at watches. After the meal, Raymond led me to the terrace. Phoenix sprawled below us, lights spreading across the valley. The December desert air was cool and clear. "You need a picture." Susan appeared with her camera. "The view is perfect tonight." "I'm not photogenic," I protested. "Nonsense. You look distinguished. Get together." Raymond's arms settled around my shoulders. I stood straight, chin up. "Perfect," Susan called. Raymond spoke quietly. "Thank you for coming. When Mike mentioned you might be alone, I had to call." "You don't owe me anything, Raymond. I owe you everything. That first year at Peterson, I was ready to quit. You saw something in me I didn't see in myself." He gestured at the house, the view, the life. "This exists because you believed in me." Home by 8 p.m. The quiet wrapped around me differently. I sat in my recliner, pulled out my phone, found the best photo Susan had taken. Raymond and me grinning like young partners, the Phoenix lights blazing behind us. I opened Facebook, typed carefully. "Christmas with old friends. Thanks, Raymond, for reminding me what real family looks like. The best gifts aren't wrapped." My finger hovered over post. Thought about Kiren seeing it, about the calculations that would follow. Then I pressed the button. 20 minutes passed. The screen exploded with notifications. 14 text messages, 5 missed calls, all from Derek. I scrolled through slowly, watching the progression. "Dad, you're at someone's house. That place looks like a resort." "Who is Raymond Chen?" Kiren looked him up. "He runs a consulting firm. She says it's worth millions." "Why didn't you tell me you had wealthy friends?" "This is important. Call me back." "Dad, we need to talk about this. This changes everything." I set the phone down, made tea, let it steep while I stared at the dark window. The phone rang. "Derek." I let it ring 5 times before answering. Finally. "Where were you today? I've been trying to reach you." "I can see that. 14 messages. That house. Whose house is that? It looks like something from a magazine." "Raymond Chen's an old colleague from Peterson. Kiren researched him online. He sold his consulting firm 3 years ago for $50 million. Dad, why didn't you tell me you knew people like this? You never asked about my friends. You asked about money. There's a difference." Silence stretched between us. I heard Kiren's voice in the background, sharp, insistent. "Dad, these are valuable connections for the family. I'm going to bed, Derek. It's been a long day." I hung up, turned off the phone completely. In the darkness, I smiled. The notifications loaded for 3 full minutes the next morning. 27 new messages, 9 missed calls, 6 voicemails. I made coffee first, took my time with breakfast, then scrolled through the accumulation. Derek's texts had evolved overnight. The early ones maintained a veneer of concern. Dad, are you okay? Just checking in. By midnight, the mask had slipped. We need to discuss your social circle. These connections could benefit everyone. At 10 a.m. my phone rang. Kiren, I answered on the fourth ring. Harold, she never called me Dad. We saw your post. Quite the Christmas you had. Yes, it was lovely. So this Raymond Derek says he's in consulting, very successful apparently. He worked hard, built everything himself. That's impressive. Her voice sweetened deliberately. You two must be close if he invited you for Christmas. We've known each other 40 years. 40 years. And you never mentioned him. Seems like the kind of friend family should know about. I walked to my window, looked out at my modest street while Kiren continued probing. Eric and I were talking. We feel bad about the confusion yesterday. His parents' visit was just overwhelming. We should have found room for you. Should have found room for Christmas. I need to go, Kiren. Have an appointment this week that requires preparation. Appointment? What kind of appointment? Is everything all right? Medical? Personal business? The line went quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice had an edge. Well, we'll talk soon. Derek wants to see you. I hung up before she could continue. The pattern continued. 3 days of escalating contact, texts, calls, a voicemail from Derek claiming Tyler missed his grandfather. Kiren's SUV parked in my driveway twice when I returned from errands. I didn't answer the door. New Year's Eve morning brought a different approach. Derek called at 9 a.m. His voice carefully softened. Dad, about Christmas. I feel terrible about how everything happened. Do you? Kiren's parents were demanding. You know how the Hendersons are. We should have handled it better. We could have made room, but you didn't. Let us make it up to you. Dinner this week. Just family. I sat with that word. Family. The word he'd used to exclude me 4 days ago. I'll think about it. Dad, please. Tyler keeps asking where Grandpa went for Christmas. The mention of Tyler softened something in me despite everything. He was 8 years old, innocent in all this. Coffee. Friday, Bernie's Diner on Main Street, 10 a.m. Just you. I'll be there. Friday arrived cold and bright. I reached Bernie's 15 minutes early. Chose a corner booth with clear sightlines to the entrance. Old habit from decades of client meetings. Always know your exits. Derek arrived at 10:07. Checked his reflection in the window before entering. When he saw me, his smile stretched too wide. Dad. He slid into the booth across from me. You look good. Getting enough sleep. Same as always. That was quite a Christmas you had. I sipped my coffee, waited. He flagged the waitress, ordered an elaborate latte. I waited until it arrived. Kiren's been researching your friend Raymond. Pretty impressive what he built. There it was. 8 minutes from sitting down to the real agenda. Yes, Raymond worked very hard consulting, right? Big corporate clients. He started small, built relationships. People trusted him because he delivered results, not promises. Derek stirred his latte slowly. You two must have some great connections between you, the people at that party. Kiren recognized a senator's wife from the photos. Raymond knows many people. That kind of network is valuable, Dad. For everyone, Derek leaned forward. I've been thinking about expanding. The marketing firm has potential, but I need investors. The right introduction could change everything. I set down my coffee cup with careful precision. You didn't come here to apologize. You came here to access Raymond's contacts. Dad, that's not fair. I genuinely feel bad about Christmas. Do you? Or do you feel bad that I had a better Christmas without you? Derek's face flushed. His calculated warmth evaporated. I came here in good faith. No, you came here because you saw a mansion and calculated what you might be missing. I stood, placed exact change on the table, not a penny more. I have an appointment this week. Estate planning. You should know that I'm making changes. His eyes widened. Estate planning? Dad? What does that mean? It means I'm protecting what I've built. For 4 years, you've treated me like a bank account. $67,000 in emergencies that were never emergencies. I kept records, Derek. I'm an accountant. I always keep records. Dad, that money was for family. For Tyler's future. Tyler's future. I leaned forward slightly. Was Tyler's future the Mercedes? Was it the vacation to Cabo that Kiren posted about 2 weeks after I covered your medical bills? That's different. No, it isn't. And I'm done pretending otherwise. I walked out into the January cold. Didn't look back. The appointment with Victoria Reyes was at 2 p.m. the following Tuesday. Her office occupied the 15th floor of a downtown Phoenix building with views of the mountains. I'd researched carefully. Top-rated estate planning attorney. 15 years protecting clients from family exploitation. Mr. Mitchell, she said as I settled into the chair across from her desk. Your call mentioned estate planning and will modification. What's prompted this decision? I placed the folder on her desk. Bank statements, screenshots, records organized chronologically. The accountant in me never died. I need to ensure my assets go where they're valued, not where they're exploited. She reviewed the documents carefully, pen moving across pages. Her expression remained professional, but I saw recognition in her eyes. She'd seen this pattern before. These transfers over 3 years, she said finally. $67,000. Did you verify the stated purposes? First, yes. Then I noticed the pattern. Emergency. Money transferred. Silence until the next request. She nodded slowly. Oregon law gives you full discretion. We can structure this several ways. I don't want to cut him off completely. He's still my son. Then we limit access. A testamentary trust. He receives benefits only after your death through controlled distribution. No lump sum. And the majority goes to organizations you choose. I'd done my research. Phoenix Children's Hospital, where Eleanor had volunteered for years, the Arizona State University Accounting Scholarship Fund, Habitat for Humanity, which she'd supported monthly until the stroke. 70% charitable, I said. 30% to Derek, controlled trust for Tyler's education only. Victoria made notes. He can try to contest, but with documented rationale and your mental competency clear, it won't succeed. She walked me through the documents. Living trust, new will, all necessary filings. I signed each page deliberately. The pen felt good in my hand. Documents ready in 1 week, she said. You'll need 2 witnesses who aren't beneficiaries. I'll bring Raymond and Susan. The next few days passed quietly. I reviewed the preliminary documents, made notes, ignored Derek's increasingly desperate calls. Then I found the volunteer opportunity. Phoenix Community Food Bank needed help with their winter distribution. Something useful, something meaningful. I arrived on a Tuesday morning, the warehouse buzzing with activity. The coordinator introduced me to Margaret Walsh, silver-haired and sharpied, who managed the packaging area. You're Harold? Margaret's handshake was firm. Raymond mentioned you might come by. Welcome to organized chaos. I worked for 4 hours sorting donations, packing boxes, loading vehicles. Physical labor that reminded me of summers working construction before college. Simple tasks, clear purpose. During a break, Margaret and I sat on folding chairs near the loading dock. She handed me half her sandwich without asking. So, she said casually, Raymond says, you're going through something. Want to talk about it? Or should we discuss the weather? The directness caught me off guard. Family issues. She nodded once. That covers a lot of territory, specific or general. My son and his wife see me as a funding source. Christmas. They excluded me. Then they saw photos of Raymond's house and suddenly wanted to reconnect. Margaret sipped her coffee. Let me guess. Now they're very interested in your estate plan. You've seen this before. More times than I can count. Lost my husband 8 years ago. My daughter spent the first 3 years after treating me like a problem to be managed, checking on my finances, suggesting I might need help with decisions. What did you do? Told her the truth. That I valued relationship over inheritance. That she could have both or neither. Did it work? Eventually. Took a year of distance before she understood I was serious. Now we talk twice a week and money never comes up. We worked together the rest of the afternoon. I learned she'd been a social worker for 30 years before retiring, widowed, 2 adult children. She'd rebuilt her life around service and connection. Walking to our cars afterward, I stopped and turned to face her. Margaret, would you like to have dinner sometime? Conversation, nothing complicated. She studied my face with those sharp eyes. Raymond mentioned you might ask. She smiled. Friday at 7 o'clock. There's a Thai place on Camelback. I've been wanting to try. The document signing happened on January 15th. Raymond and Susan witnessed. Victoria notarized. Everything official, binding, protected. Afterward, Raymond clasped my shoulder. Proud of you, Harold. This took courage. I'm learning that protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. That evening I called Derek. I need to see you and Kiren tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock a.m. My house. It's important. What's this about, Dad? You've been avoiding us. I've made decisions about my estate that you need to understand your estate. Dad, we should discuss this as a family before you do anything drastic. We'll discuss it tomorrow face to face. They arrived at 10 sharp. Unusual punctuality suggesting anxiety. Derek's smile was uncertain. Kiren's eyes scanned my living room with barely concealed calculation. Sit, I said, gesturing to the couch. I've made changes to my will. I slid 2 folders across the coffee table. Watch them open the documents. The majority of my estate, 70%, will go to charitable organizations. Phoenix Children's Hospital, the University Scholarship Fund, Habitat for Humanity. Kiren's face went pale. Derek's mouth opened, closed, opened again. The remaining 30% is designated for Tyler's education through a controlled trust. No direct distributions to either of you. No advances, no early access. Dad, this is insane. Derek's voice rose. We're your family. Exactly. You're my family. Yet for 4 years you've treated me like a checkbook. $67,000 in fake emergencies. I tracked every dollar, Derek. It's what I do. Those were legitimate needs. The Mercedes, the Cabo vacation, the roof repair for a roof that doesn't leak. Kiren stood abruptly. This is that Raymond person filling your head with ideas. Raymond values me for who I am. Can you say the same? Silence. Heavy. Revealing. Derek stood too. His face dark with anger. Fine. Don't expect to see Tyler again ever. Something settled in me. Final clear. Tyler's trust fund will be waiting when he's 18. He can make his own choices then. Until then, I'll write him letters, save photos, let him know his grandfather loved him, even when his parents used him as leverage. Kiren's voice went cold. You'll regret this. The only regret I have is enabling your behavior for 4 years. I'm correcting that now. They left without taking the folders. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. I stood in my living room listening to their car screech away. Then I picked up the folders, filed them in my desk, and made myself a cup of tea. Done. Not triumph, not victory, just peace. Dinner with Margaret that Friday was at the Thai place on Camelback. Quiet corner table, good food, better conversation. She told me about her late husband, a teacher who'd loved crossword puzzles and classic movies. I told her about Eleanor, her laugh, her volunteer work, the way she'd dance in the kitchen while cooking. We spoke of them with love without dwelling. The right people, Margaret said over dessert, don't need leverage to stay in your life. They just stay. Are you planning to stay? Her smile warmed something I thought had gone cold forever. Ask me again next month. See if your answer is the same. The letter arrived on February 14th, Valentine's Day. Handwritten envelope. Derek's script on the front. I made coffee before opening it. Needed fortification. Dad, I've had time to think about everything you said. You were right. I let Kiren convince me you owed us things. That family meant automatic access. I forgot you were my father, not my financial backup plan. I looked at the numbers. $67,000. I don't know how we justified any of it to ourselves. Entitlement maybe. Taking for granted that you'd always be there with your checkbook open. Tyler asked about you yesterday. Why Grandpa doesn't visit anymore. I didn't have a good answer. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything except a chance to prove I can be a better son. The kind Mom would have wanted me to be. Whatever you decide, I understand, Derek. I read it 3 times, looked for the angle, the manipulation, found none, picked up my phone. I got your letter. Dad, his voice cracked. I didn't know if you'd call. I almost didn't, but you took responsibility. That's new. I've had 2 months to think about how I treated you, about what I taught Tyler by example. He reached out for help with money, not for me. I don't want him learning that. I sat with the silence between us. I'm willing to try rebuilding. New terms, relationship, not transaction. We actually talk, actually connect, And money never comes up unless someone is genuinely provably dying. Anything. Whatever it takes. Dinner next Sunday. You, Kiren, and Tyler. My house. We're going to eat together like an actual family. And afterward, Tyler and I are going to play chess like I used to with my father. I'd like that, Dad. He paused. Thank you for giving me another chance. After we hung up, I sat with the letter for a long moment. Real change or temporary performance? Time would tell, but I was willing to let him prove it. That evening, Margaret came over for dinner. I'd cooked roast chicken the way Eleanor used to make it. Margaret brought wine and questions. I told her about the letter, about the call. She listened without judgment. What do you think? I asked finally. I think people can change if they want to badly enough. I also think you're smart enough to see through performance. And if it's real, then you get your son back. The real one, not the one who saw dollar signs. She squeezed my hand across the table. Either way, you're not alone anymore. That's what matters. The Sunday dinner happened. Awkward at first, Kiren barely met my eyes, but Tyler ran to me the moment he came through the door. 8 years old and oblivious to adult complications. Grandpa, I missed you. I held him tight. Missed you too, buddy. Derek kept his word. No mention of money. Genuine conversation about Tyler's school, about the food bank where I now volunteered twice a week, about Margaret, whom I introduced carefully as my friend. Kiren remained stiff through most of it. But when Tyler beat me at chess and I laughed, something softened in her face. Small steps building from rubble. March brought spring flowers and routine. Twice weekly volunteering at the food bank. Monthly dinners with Derek's family that actually felt like family. Friday evenings with Margaret, sometimes dinner, sometimes just walking through the desert botanical garden as the sun set. Raymond called regularly. We met for coffee and conversation. Sometimes Susan joined us. I'd found my people, the ones who valued presence over presence. One evening, sitting on my back patio with Margaret, watching the Phoenix sunset paint the sky orange and purple, I said something I'd been thinking for weeks. I spent months believing I was plotting revenge, planning how to show them what they'd lost. What was it really? Margaret asked. Remembering my worth, I thought if I gave enough, sacrificed enough, I'd earn their love. But it doesn't work that way. No, she agreed. Some people will only ever see what you can provide, but the right ones see you. I looked at her, silver hair catching the fading light, warm eyes without calculation or agenda. The right people pay with attention, I said. Not money, not favors, just genuine, honest attention, she smiled. Where do you hear that? I think I finally figured it out. Her shoulder rested against mine. The desert cooled as stars began appearing. My phone stayed silent in my pocket. No emergencies, no urgent requests, just peace. This wasn't the ending I'd imagined when Derek's call excluded me from Christmas. But it was better than anything I could have planned. Not revenge, not triumph, just clarity and the knowledge that I'd finally learned to tell the difference between being used and being valued. The right people pay with attention, and I'd found them at last. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.